Alright guys, today we're talking about different type of angles. The main ones we're going to talk about are the ones in this bottom area right here: supplementary angles, adjacent angles, vertical angles, and complementary angles. I just went ahead and put acute, right, and obtuse because they're a part of this as well. We know acute angles that are less than 90 degrees, right angles equal 90 degrees, and obtuse angles are greater than 90 degrees. Adjacent angles are angles that are right next to each other. So supplementary angles can be adjacent, and complementary angles also can be adjacent, and they usually are. You might see some little tougher problems where they won't be. They're just trying to get you to find the different angle, but we'll get into those a little later. Supplementary angles are 180 degrees, and you have two or more angles that make up the supplementary angles. They can be obtuse and acute. You can have two right angles. That's usually the way that you'll see them. Complementary angles are angles that equal 90 degrees. They're two acute angles that you combine. Vertical angles are separated by a vertex or a point, and are across from each other and have the same measure, so they're equal, the exact same degrees in measure. So let's review a little bit more review on this. Alright, so kind of what we went over. Complementary angles are acute angles that must add together to equal 90 degrees. Supplementary angles can be obtuse, and acute angles are two right angles. So the different type of angles that you can use that add together equal 180 degrees. Vertical angles are across from each other, and they're separated by a point or a vertex. We'll look at that in just a minute. Adjacent angles are right next to each other, and we talked about how supplementary and complementary are adjacent. Alright, what are the two angle pairs of complementary angles? Okay, so you look right here, complementary means it forms 90 degrees, so the two angles that form that, we know this is 90. And if you have a straight line, guys, that means that the straight line here, a straight line is always 180 degrees, okay? Okay, that's always 180. So that means that this side is 90, this side is 90. So these two angles here are going to be 90 degrees, so they're going to be complementary. So we got DPC, angle DPC, and CPB. Use the one in the middle is where it makes the angle at, and that's what you use to put the P's in the middle of both of them. Okay, if angle JNK equals 30 degrees, what is the measure of angle JNI? Alright, so we got JNK, there's a 90 degree, and then we got JNI. So we notice that these two make a 90 degree angle. So all we got to do is say 90 minus 30 equals 60 degrees. So angle JNI equals 60 degrees. Okay. Now here at the bottom, if the measure of angle D is 130, so here's D, 130 degrees, what is the measure of angle C? Notice they're across from each other. So we talked about earlier, what are across from each other? Those are vertical angles. We said they are the same. So C is equal to 130 degrees as well. And you notice there's a point where they meet in here. You can't really see the point right here, but I mean they cross, so there's a point there, a vertex. So that means it's across from the vertex as well. Alright, if the measure of the angle D is 130 degrees, what is the measure of angle B? Well, look right here on a straight line. We just talked about up here that a straight line makes 180, and they're right next to each other. They're adjacent to one another. So we look right here, D and B, we say 180 minus 130 is 50 degrees. Alright, let's go back and look at a little bit more practice here. How many different ways can you name this angle? Well, I know it's an acute angle. PZR. It could be a complementary angle. It also could be an obtuse angle. Alright, and you could also name it, you could say, if you're just another way to say it, PZR, you can name it that way, or Z or RZP, as far as just naming the angle. Alright, here we go. He says, what are three different ways to name the angle in yellow? Well, we know it's an obtuse angle. It's bigger than 90. You can see that 90 degree angle right there. It's bigger than 90. Alright, it could be a supplementary angle. because if you're looking at this angle, it could be part of the total line. It is a part of the total line, but this asks for this angle, so it is a supplementary angle, and it is also an adjacent angle because it's right next to another angle here. All right, what are three different ways to name this angle? This is a right angle, could be a supplementary angle. All right, so you got a right angle and a supplementary angle because they can add together to make 180 degrees, and it is an adjacent angle because it's right next to this angle. This one right here, what are three different ways to name this angle? Well, it's an acute angle. It's with this angle right here. It could also, it is also a complementary angle, and it is a part of the supplementary angle as well because we said two or more. So there's three angles here that are making up 180 degrees. So this angle could be complementary, supplementary, and it could be adjacent as well. It could be any of those. All right. What are three different ways to name the angle in yellow? Now, right here, INM is across here to JNL. It could be a vertical angle. All right. It could be an obtuse angle and adjacent angle on either side here. And it is a supplementary angle because it's on a straight line either way you look at it. So it is everything but a complementary. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you write these notes down on your graphic organizer. Thank you.